Wow. I mean, just wow. I am genuinely completely flabbergasted by this show. If someone had come up to me even a few months ago and said something like, "Hey, there's a new Game of Thrones spin-off called The Night of the Seven Kingdoms, and in my honest opinion, it's not just good, it's potentially better than the original series at its peak," I would have laughed right in their face. I would have said something like, "Come on, man, that's impossible. Game of Thrones absolutely fumbled the bag in those last two seasons. Hell, let's be real, the decline started creeping in earlier. And after that kind of betrayal, why would I ever trust another Westeros story to deliver?" I was burned. Right? I was just done. So I skipped House of the Dragon entirely because, frankly, I was just kind of over the Targaryens, the dragons, over the whole high fantasy political intrigue machine that once captivated me but ultimately left me feeling hollow. But then the buzz started. People wouldn't shut up about The Night of the Seven Kingdoms. So I did what any skeptical former fan does. I googled it and I learned it's based on George R.R. Martin's Dunk and Egg novellas. Those shorter, more intimate tales collected in A Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which were also adapted into graphic novels years ago. And something clicked. I thought, okay, if they got the blueprints right there on the page, if the source material is already tight, character driven and complete, then maybe, just maybe, they can fumble this one the way so many adaptations fumbled their source material. We've seen it happen time and time again with franchises like Resident Evil or Silent Hill. They have great foundations, yet somehow they still manage to mess it up spectacularly. But here, I figured there was a fighting chance. So I gave it a shot. And now, having binged every episode up through episode 5, with episode 6, the season finale, having just dropped 2 days ago, I'm sitting here trying to process how much I love this show. It is not hyperbole when I say it has restored my faith in the Game of Thrones universe. Right from the start, this is a different beast. Yes, there's that bizarre, almost off-putting scene in episode 1 involving defecation. So I'll be honest, it caught me off guard. It felt a little bit weird. Maybe even symbolic in a very on the nose of, I don't know, shitting on the later seasons of the original show or something. But after that initial jolt, it settles into something truly special. And that moment doesn't define the series. It fades away quickly and never really comes back, thankfully. What we're left with is a grounded, almost anti-fantasy take on Westeros. This story is set roughly 100 years before the events of Game of Thrones. Anyway, don't quote me on the exact timeline, but it is in that post-Targaryen conquest era where dragons are gone, the realm is still scarred from old wars, and knighthood feels more like a gritty profession than a glamorous destiny. There are no dragons soaring overhead, no white walkers on the horizon, no sprawling battles with thousands of CGI extras. Instead, it is intimate. It is about people, really flawed, often, funny people, navigating a brutal medieval world where honor is rare, and class divides are stark, and survival depends as much on wits as on sword skill. At the heart of it all is a duo that makes this show sing. Sir Duncan the Tall, or Dunk, as everyone calls him, and his squire, Egg. That kind of made me laugh, the name Egg. Dunk is this towering, earnest hedge knight, physically imposing, built like a barn door, but with a heart that's almost too big for the cynical world around him. He's not the sharpest tool in the shed, he is straightforward, sometimes hilariously literal, occasionally downright dim, but that simplicity is a strength. He's honorable in a way that feels authentic, not performative. He does the right thing because it is the right thing, even when it costs him. And then there's Egg, this bald, pin-sized kid with a razor-sharp mind, a proper way of speaking that contrasts wildly with his scruffy appearance, and an intelligence that more than makes up for Dunk's occasional boneheaded decisions. The dynamic between them is pure gold. It is like a medieval buddy comedy wrapped in a coming-of-age tale. Dunk's brute strength and good intentions paired with Egg's quick thinking and hidden depths create these constant organic moments of humor, tension, and genuine warmth. You can't help but root for them as they bumble and battle their way through tournaments, schemes, and moral dilemmas. The dialogue is sharp, witty, and feels lived in. The characters bounce off each other in ways that feel real, not scripted for shock value. And the villains, man, they're hateable in the best way. When one of these scheming bastards appear on screen, my first instinct is visceral. I want to reach through the TV and throttle them. And that's a testament to the writing and the performances. The actors are nailing that slimy, entitled menace without ever tipping into cartoonish territory. The brutality is there, don't get me wrong, but It is measured, grounded, and realistic. The fights we've seen so far aren't over-the-top gore-fest. They are raw, consequential, and they're heard because they feel possible in this world. No one's invisible. Honor duels, trial by combat elements, casual cruelty, nobility toward the small folk. It's all handled with a restraint that makes the violence land harder. And through it all, there is this undercurrent of hope, of decency persisting even in dark times, that makes the show feel refreshing rather than exhausting. Compared to the original Game of Thrones, which grew increasingly obsessed with spectacle and shock, or even what I've heard about House of the Dragon's dragon-heavy drama, A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms feels like a palate cleanser. It is more like a knightly tale than high fantasy epic, less about thrones and more about what true knighthood means when no one's watching. It is funny and occasionally poignant, and it reminds you why you fell in love with Westeros in the first place. The characters. Look, I know the franchise has a history of losing its way once it outpaces the books, but here, with the graphic novel, novella, source material providing a solid foundation, and the show staying faithful while expanding in smart ways, yeah, you can say that I'm cautiously optimistic. HBO has already renewed it for season 2, and if they keep this level of care, this could be the spin-off that redeems the whole universe. Are you asking me if I would recommend it to you? Absolutely, without hesitation. If you still have any love left for the Game of Thrones IP, if you crave medieval created with heart and humor, if you're tired of endless dragon CGI and want something more humane, start this right now. Watch the first episode tonight. Push through that quirky opening if you need to. I promise it gets exponentially better. A Knight of the Seven Kingdoms isn't just good, it is the most enjoyable, most hopeful thing to come out of Westeros in years. Dunk and Egg are the heroes we needed. I want to thank you for watching. If you've seen it, drop your non-spoiler thoughts in the comments. You won't regret it. Anyway, if you love my non-spoiler review, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe so I can see your beautiful face again next time. Thank you all. Have a great day.